Chapter 78. Dude, if you're really related, can you say something nice to me for a while? If I can be admitted, I'll invite you to a big hotel for a meal. The young man looked at David expectantly. David smiled slightly. Okay, if I succeed, I will give you 2 good words. Thank you so much. The young man looked happy and kept following David to thank him. Soon, the interviews began. One by one, the interviewers walked in nervously and walked out in frustration. Even those interviewers from the famous universities were unsuccessful. Seeing that the interviewees from the famous universities all failed, the young man beside David became even more nervous. His hands were slightly clenched into fists, and his palms were full of sweat. Next, David. Soon, it was David's turn. When David got up, the young man beside him grabbed him. Dude, you must say something nice for me, I'm counting on you. The boy said nervously. David nodded, and then walked into the office. As soon as he entered, he saw 3 people sitting behind a desk, with the girl who had just collected her resume standing beside her. That Kui Ziyuan was sitting in the middle. Obviously he was the main interviewer for today's interview, and the 2 left and right were just foils. Whether or not he could pass the interview only needed a word from Kui Ziyuan. Kui Ziyuan looked at David and said calmly, "Introduce yourself." Just as David was about to speak, he saw an interviewer beside Kui Ziyuan saying, "Because you don't have a resume, you need to tell me all about your experience in the past few years after graduating from university." David nodded, and briefly explained his experience after graduation. Of course, he also said about his imprisonment. He didn't hide it, and there was nothing to hide. It's just that David said that he was in prison, but no one showed surprise to several people. Obviously, Kui Ziyuan has just told a few people, so these people will not be surprised. After hearing this, Kui Ziyuan closed his eyes slightly, clasped his hands on his chest, leaned on the seat without saying a word, and the girl on the side hurried forward to give Kui Ziyuan a gentle massage. "Do you know what kind of company we are? Do you know who the boss of our company is? You, a prisoner who just got out of prison, dare to come for an interview?" An interviewer smiled contemptuously. "Why don't you dare? Does your company clearly stipulate that people who have been in prison are not allowed to interview? Besides, what's wrong with being in prison? Is it a bad person who has been in prison?" David smiled lightly. "Although our company has no express regulations, but you are a reformed through labor worker. If you enter the company, it will affect our company's image. I believe that other companies will not want you to be released after serving your sentence. You'd better be self-aware. If it were you, I wouldn't even show up." The interviewer looked at David playfully. It seemed that he was deliberately humiliating David, and his voice was very loud. This time, the interviewers outside also heard it, and all of them were surprised, and the young man who just followed David was even more shocked. Damn, it turned out to be a prisoner of labor reform. I wasted a piece of chewing gum in vain. It's really bad. The boy hurried to the bathroom to wash his hands. David in the office was not angry, and smiled lightly. "If I were you, I wouldn't have the ability to be a man at all. I would have no face to sit here. You have dark circles all over your eyes. Are you looking at your wife at night? But you are not at all. It's useless. Can't sleep all night." David's words made the interviewer stunned and looked at David with a bit of horror in his eyes. He didn't understand. How did David know that he was not capable of a man? Chapter 79. This is his secret, and he has never told anyone. In the eyes of outsiders, he has a happy family and a harmonious husband and wife. Only he knows that at night, he will fall into deep pain. Now David's words hit the sore spot, which made the interviewer suddenly furious, and the blue veins on his forehead bulged. "You are talking nonsense. You don't have the ability of a man. I have a wife and children, and my family is very happy." The interviewer roared loudly and deliberately took the child seriously, in order to refute David and prove that David is nonsense. David smiled. "Even if you have a child, it is not your own, it is not picked up, or your daughter-in-law gave birth to someone else, because your faults have fallen from childhood, and it was caused by an accident and an external force. Make you lose the ability of a man." Bang! Just after David finished speaking, the interviewer slapped the table and stood up, glaring at David and said, "You kid, investigate me." This interviewer was indeed kicked in the crotch by a donkey when he was a child, so he lost his ability to be a man, and only picked up a child after marriage. Except for those people in his hometown who knew about these things, no one in Horrendal would know about it. He deliberately stayed away from his hometown for this reason, but he didn't expect to be directly told by David. "You're not worthy of my investigation." David smiled coldly. However, the interviewer's words also proved that what David said was the truth. This time, several colleagues on the scene looked at the interviewer with strange eyes. The interviewer also seemed to feel that he had said the wrong thing, and immediately became angry and rushed towards David. Seeing that an interview was about to turn into a fight scene, Kui Ziyuan could only shout angrily, "Enough is enough, sit back for me." The interviewer could only give David a stern look, and then sat back. Kui Ziyuan just wanted to let his subordinates humiliate David and then tell him that it was inappropriate. He didn't expect things to turn out like this, which made Kui Ziyuan a little angry. "Boy, you are not suitable to work in our company. You don't want to show us the door as you are. You better get out. Don't come again in the future." Another interviewer saw that Kui Ziyuan was a little angry, and immediately reprimanded David. "There are employees like you in such a large-scale company, it's really time to rectify it." David sneered, got up and walked out. He didn't really want to work here. But just when David got up and was about to walk out, suddenly a tall, stern young man in a suit walked in. The youth carried a bit of majesty on his body, and as soon as he entered the door, he glanced at David. David also looked at the young man, and then prepared to leave. But who knew that he was directly stopped by the young man? "You are David." David looked at the young man suspiciously and nodded slightly. He didn't know the person in front of him. But if David's parents were there, they would definitely know each other. It was this person who drove David's parents away when they went to the Pinerest Villa. Mr. Xing. After Kui Ziyuan saw the young man, he ran over flatteringly, and then explained, "This person is called David, and he came to apply for the job. Because he didn't meet the requirements of our company, we refused. Leave him." After the young man said a word, he looked at David again, then turned around and was about to leave. "Mr. Xing, he's a reformed through labor inmate who just got out of jail." Kui Ziyuan stopped the young man and said. The young man turned around slowly and looked at Kui Ziyuan with chills in his eyes. "Are you teaching me to do things?" This shocked Kui Ziyuan, shaking his head again and again. "Don't dare, don't dare." Chapter 80. The youth turned and left. Kui Ziyuan and the two interviewers were all stunned, looking at David in disbelief, wondering how David and the general manager of the company knew each other. "David, how did you know me, President Xing?" Kui Ziyuan asked with a puzzled face. "Is he the general manager of this company?" "I don't know him." David shook his head. David didn't know this young man, and he had never met him, but this young man had met David, and he even saw David following Sonia Qingqing me and me. The young man's name is Xing Jun. He is an international student who graduated from Stanford University abroad. After working in the Su Group, he has been reused, and this Xing Jun has also taken a fancy to Sonia and has been pursuing Sonia, but Sonia did not agree. After Ruben gave it to Sonia Company, because Sonia did not manage it, he transferred Xing Jun to be the general manager of Xinyu Daily Chemical Company, Limited, and was solely responsible for the operation and management of the company. This Xing Jun does have some strength. In a short period of time, the management of the company is well organized, and it has become the most profitable subsidiary of the Su Group. The reason why Xing Jun worked so hard was to make Sonia look after him, but when he knew that Sonia was dealing with a kid like David who had been in prison, his heart changed drastically, and he wanted to take Sonia from David. Now that David has come to the company for an interview, of course he has to seize this opportunity. As long as David stays in the company, he can have tens of thousands of ways to make David quit despite difficulties, and he can also provoke the relationship between David and Sonia. It's really weird. Kui Ziyuan frowned, but the general manager had spoken. One of his department managers didn't dare to go against it, so he could only say to David, "Go through the onboarding procedures, and then I'll send someone to show you about the company." Now Kui Ziyuan doesn't dare to trouble David for the time being. He doesn't know what the relationship between David and Xing Jun is. David is also a little strange. He doesn't understand what this is, Mr. Xing, why he wants to keep himself. It seems that he knows himself. Could it be that Sonia knew that she was coming to her company for an interview and specifically asked the general manager? David frowned slightly and thought, followed the girl in the office, and was taken to go through the entry procedures. Damn, your kid turned out to be a reformed through labor prisoner. I'm really unlucky to have talked to you for a long time. It's too bad. Just like you, you'll never want to apply for a job. As soon as David went out, he was scolded by the young man who had just put on glasses. David looked at the young man. Originally, he felt that the young man was good, but he didn't want to be such a low-key guy. Mr. Chen, please follow me here. I need an ID card for the entry procedure. Have you brought it? The girl who came out with David asked David. Oh, I brought it. David handed the ID card to the girl, and then smiled gratefully. He knew that the girl asked this on purpose, just to tell the boy. Sure enough, when the young man saw that David had succeeded in the interview, his eyes suddenly widened, his face full of incredulity. However, David ignored him, but after sneering, he followed the girl and left. While David was applying for the job, in the sales manager's office, Sun Xiaomeng said angrily to Kui Ziyuan, "What's the matter with you? Didn't you say you shouldn't admit him? Now he's been admitted. If you don't bore me to death. In the future, my dad will definitely let me take him to work every day. Can you blame me? Who knows what that kid has to do with Boss Xing? He was directly admitted by Boss Xing, what can I do?" Kui Ziyuan was also displeased. Chapter 81. Didn't you tell President Xing that he is a reformed through labor prisoner? Sun Xiaomeng continued to ask. Of course I said it. At that time, President Xing's eyes almost didn't frighten me to death. If I dared to talk too much, I would not be able to keep my position as manager. Now Kui Ziyuan thinks of Xing Jun's eyes, and he has lingering fears. Does this guy really know President Xing? Sun Xiaomeng frowned. Let's take a look and then talk about it. If he really knows President Xing, we really can't target him in the future, and you have to coax him. Kui Ziyuan exhorted Sun Xiaomeng. It's up to you. Sun Xiaomeng rolled her eyes and walked out. At this time, more than a dozen people in the sales department already knew that the general manager had spoken in person and recruited a prisoner who had been in prison. This kind of thing spreads very quickly in the company, especially this kind of gossip. This David must have something to do with Mr. Xing, or else he won't be wanted. People who have been in prison come with us, why do I feel so infiltrating? We'll all be careful when people come here. If this guy really has something to do with Mr. Xing, if we're not careful, we'll be out of luck. The people in the sales department gathered around and discussed. What are you doing? Don't you have to work? Sun Xiaomeng came out of the office and saw everyone gathered around discussing, so she shouted with a cold face. Although Sun Xiaomeng is just an ordinary salesperson in the sales department, he is always showing his authority. After all, Kui Ziyuan is the department manager, no one dares to provoke Sun Xiaomeng. When Sun Xiaomeng shouted like this, everyone dispersed, only a short-haired girl walked towards Sun Xiaomeng. This girl's name is Wang Lanlin, and she has a good relationship with Sun Xiaomeng. Xiaomeng, did you hear that our sales department recruited a prisoner of labor reform? I heard that it was recruited by President Xing's words. It is estimated that it has something to do with President Xing. Wang Lanlin whispered to Sun Xiaomeng. FCUK, if he has something to do with President Xing, and he has something to do with President Xing, it's just shish. Luck. Sun Xiaomeng doesn't believe that David really has anything to do with the general manager. Wang Lanlin was taken aback. Do you know the one named David? Sun Xiaomeng found that she had said something wrong, and hurriedly shook her head. I don't know the prisoner of labor reform. I just think this guy just came out of prison. How could he know Mr. Xing? Don't spread the word. I will ask manager Kui to ask Xing later. Always no. About an hour later, David's entry procedures were completed, and he went to the sales department after receiving a badge. When David arrived at the sales department, everyone looked at him like a giant panda, which made David a little overwhelmed. David, congratulations on joining our sales department. You will cherish this opportunity in the future. Kui Ziyuan said to David in a calm tone. Kui Ziyuan didn't dare to target David until he didn't know if David had a relationship with Xing Jun. David nodded slightly. Tongjian, come here. Kui Ziyuan shouted at a boy with glasses and a young face. Soon the boy ran over and said to Kui Ziyuan, Manager, are you calling me? You will take David with you in the future, you too, remember to teach him more. Kui Ziyuan said to the boy. The boy looked at David with an embarrassed look on his face. Why, are you not happy? Kui Ziyuan stared. The boy hurriedly shook his head and said, yes, yes. Seeing the boy's agreement, Kui Ziyuan smiled slightly and said to David, go with him, your workstation is next to him. After Kui Ziyuan finished speaking, he turned around and went back to the office. The other colleagues in the sales department looked at David with a playful smile, and that Sun Xiaomeng also secretly smiled and sat back in his seat. Chapter 82. Big brother, my name is Zhang Tongjian, I hope you can take care of. Back at the workstation, Zhang Tongjian stretched out his hand nervously and said to David. David could see that Zhang Tongjian was very afraid of himself, which surprised David. My name is David Chen, you should take care of me. David stretched out his hand and smiled slightly. No, I've only been here for a few days. Let's work together, Zhang Tongjian said hurriedly. David has long seen that Zhang Tongjian is not like an old employee. You seem to be afraid of me. David asked Zhang Tongjian in confusion. No, don't be afraid. Zhang Tongjian shook his head, but he didn't dare to look directly at David. Do you know something? David knew that Zhang Tongjian must know something, so he was afraid of himself. Zhang Tongjian hesitated for a while, and finally nodded. Brother, why are you in jail? You don't look like a bad person. When David heard this, he immediately laughed. It turned out that Zhang Tongjian knew that he had been in prison, so he was a little scared. After knowing why Zhang Tongjian was afraid of himself, David didn't hide anything, and told Zhang Tongjian about his own affairs. It didn't take long for the two to get to know each other, and that Zhang Tongjian was no longer afraid of David. Brother Chen, you're wronged enough, but now that you're out, let's do it well, it's just. Zhang Tongjian said, and began to hesitate. Just what? David asked. Brother Chen, it's just that you were assigned to my group. It is estimated that neither of us can work very long. Zhang Tongjian sighed and said. What's going on? David was surprised. Zhang Tongjian opened a folder from the computer, and then said to David, Brother Chen, these are the accounts that our group needs to recover. The previous salesman left the accounts and left, and now we need to collect them. If we don't come up, we won't be able to do it. David looked at the dense accounts on the computer and frowned slightly. How many people owe my wife money? Brother Chen, what did you say? Zhang Tongjian was taken aback. Oh, I said why so many people owe money. David hurriedly changed his mind. That's right, it's hard to do any business now. I've analyzed it a long time ago. Those who owe money are some difficult customers. It is estimated that the two of us will not be able to collect it. Zhang Tongjian sighed heavily. David finally understood at this time why after he was assigned to a group with Zhang Tongjian, many people secretly laughed. Don't worry, the money will not be less, we can get it. David patted Zhang Tongjian's shoulder and encouraged. You must know that this company belongs to Sonia. The money owed to the company is the money owed to Sonia, and the money owed to Sonia is the money owed to him. David will not let anyone owe him money. Well, let's work together. Encouraged by David, Zhang Tongjian nodded his head hard. David began to be familiar with all the arrears in the company, and he would have to get back a lot of this money. Soon, a day passed. David stretched his waist and couldn't help muttering, this is too much debt, what does the general manager of the company eat? Brother Chen, don't talk nonsense. If you are overheard and report your words, it will be troublesome. When Zhang Tongjian heard David complaining about the general manager, he was so frightened that he hurriedly reminded him. Is it so serious? It's just a general manager, and he was hired. Do you really consider this place your own home and an emperor? David did not expect that the employees were so afraid of Mr. Xing. You must know that Xing Jun is just a professional manager. He was hired by the Su family with money, and he has not yet reached the point of covering the sky with one hand in the company. It's just that Sonia rarely comes to the company and never participates in the company's affairs, which makes Xing Jun's power more and more powerful. Chapter 83. David, the company stipulates that new employees should invite everyone to have a meal. Where do you plan to arrange everyone? After Sun Xiaomeng got off work, she found David and asked. At this time, everyone in the office looked at David, ready to eat David, because every new employee would be eaten hard. And this rule? Is the board ruled by the board? David was slightly taken aback. Brother Chen, there is this rule. When I came, I invited everyone to have a meal. It cost me nearly 10,000. Zhang Tongjian reminded David in a low voice. David, since you have come to my sales department, you must abide by the rules of the sales department. This rule was set when I was a manager. Kui Ziyuan came over and said to David. The rules you set. David smiled coldly. I'm sorry, I don't have money. If you want to eat, then pay for it yourself. You are not beggars. Can you beg me for a meal? After David finished speaking, he turned around and left without ignoring Kui Ziyuan's already angry face. This David is too much. What the H3LL, is it because he has something to do with Mr. Xing? He is so defiant and ignores manager Kui. Wang Lanlin jumped out and spoke for Kui Ziyuan immediately. That is, even if he is related, he can't talk to manager Kui like this. He even compares us to beggars. Who the H3LL cares about his meal? It seems that he still doesn't know how powerful our sales department is. Let him look good tomorrow. A group of people in the sales department were all talking indignantly. That Zhang Tongjian didn't dare to speak at all, and he was extremely depressed. David's actions today will definitely attract revenge. When they are in a group, he can't hide himself. Hey, he has AF.art relationship. I have already asked President Xing. The reason why President Xing left him is just to make him embarrassed. Kui Ziyuan's eyes flashed coldly. He has already asked Xing Jun in a side-by-side manner, and Xing Jun's instruction to him is to make David embarrassed in the company. Although Kui Ziyuan didn't know why Xing Jun did this, he dared not listen to the general manager's words. Since David didn't treat the guests, the people in the sales department also left. Just when Kui Ziyuan said goodbye to Sun Xiaomeng and was thinking about leaving, Sun Xiaomeng's cell phone suddenly rang. The call was from Sun Xiaomeng's mother, Li Fengxia. Seeing her mother calling her, Sun Xiaomeng hurriedly answered. Xiaomeng, let me tell you the great news, all the debts owed by Fuyao Decoration have been returned to us, and our company has survived. Li Fengxia's voice was filled with excitement and excitement. Really? Sun Xiaomeng was also excited. Then why did Fuyao Decoration suddenly pay back the money? We asked for it many times and didn't give it. Your dad has inquired about it, and it was Lord Tiger who spoke, so frightened that Fuyao Decoration immediately gave the money. Li Fengxia said. Lin Tianyu. Sun Xiaomeng was stunned. It doesn't matter if our family follows him, we don't even know him, so why does Lord Hu help us? I'm also wondering. Remember you said that Ziyuan used his relationship to help us think of a way. I think whether Ziyuan knew Hu Yi, or his friend, so I called you to ask. If Ziyuan is really helping, then you can call him tonight and let's have a meal together. Li Fengxia asked. I'll ask him. Hang up first. Sun Xiaomeng hung up the phone. What's wrong? Do you think you're happy? Kui Ziyuan asked Sun Xiaomeng's excited face, so he asked suspiciously.